that will help Arjun come into some realization. So he says, you've got to maintain the honor of the Kshatriya. It's a huge opportunity for you. So he's appealing to Arjun's sense of ethics. Now, so earlier Arjun had said, if you remember in chapter 1, he said that for my petty gain, I'm going to kill my own family. What's the point? So he uses the words petty gain in the translation. So Krishna is now telling him, don't do this for your petty gain. Realize that this is your Kshatriya Dharma, that how many people get an opportunity like this. See, when you know what is your Dharma, if you can act according to your Dharma, given a huge opportunity, you have the opportunity to rise into spiritual freedom, into liberation. This can happen to you. He says it is so rare that a warrior can get an opportunity like this to fight. It's not just simply a battle of conquest, gaining another land. It's the battle, it's the war of righteousness. Such a huge opportunity has come this way. And Osho says in his commentary that for a warrior like Arjun, an ordinary battle will not do. He's not going to rise into liberation just by fighting an ordinary war. It's almost like the result of the war is a foregone conclusion because Arjun is such a great warrior. So he needs a war like Mahabharata. Arjun really needs the poignancy of Mahabharata and the unique presentation of this war, where he is not fighting enemies in some sense. He's actually fighting his own cousins and his own family. So it's a very, very unique situation in which he has been put in, and it's rare to find situations where you have the opportunity to use your dharma for liberation. So what is Arjun being asked? Krishna is telling him, stick to your Swadharma. And Yoga Sutra practitioners, we spoke of the idea of authenticity, satya, in the practice of yama. So satya meaning, it's not just speaking the truth. It is being who you are and being true to whatever your values are. That is true satya. Here, this is what Krishna is asking him to do, to be true to his nature. This is what his whole training is for. He's not a Buddha. We've spoken about that. We discussed this on WhatsApp, and we also discussed this when we started. So he says, if you know what is right and you do that, then that is called dharma. This is the law of karma. And this kind of karma will then bring you punya. Now, Arjun is also worried. Arjun says that I will go to hell for doing a thing like this. So Krishna is telling him, no, you cannot drop your Kshatriya Dharma. If you do this, you will be filled with guilt, because that which was your Dharma, you left it. You want to run away into the jungle and become a sannyasin? This is not the way to follow your Dharma. So let's look at Swadharma. So first, understand what Swadharma means. What is my Dharma? So this is coming from the ancient Indian system. In the ancient Indian system, life was divided into 4 parts. First 25 years, you live as a brahmachari, which is you just live the student's life, you learn, and that is really the responsibility that you have. You don't have any responsibility for earning wealth. It's just a student period. Then the next 25 years is the grahastha ashram. The grahastha ashram is living the householder's life. And then comes the vanaprastha ashram, which is you go into the forest, you will start seeking truth, and then sannyasi, where you just become a complete renunciant. So this is the ancient model of dharma. So it's your station, it's your ashram. Station is the ashram, brahmacharya, grahast, vanaprastha, sannyasin. There is also in the ancient system the talk of caste or varna, right? Now, see, this is what I was saying. Chapter 2 is actually kind of the basis of the whole Bhagwad Gita. Chapter 3 to 18 is an elaboration on this. Those of you who did chapter 4 with me, we started with chapter 4. We had spoken of caste and varna in a pretty elaborate way. In fact, many people have quoted saying that Krishna himself created the caste system, and what is your problem? And they are using that as an excuse to, this system went into abuse in India. We all know this. And Krishna does say that people are born into these caste varna. I created it in the sense of God. But what is this caste system? What is this varna? Is it a hierarchy? It's not actually. The beauty here is that how do you know your Swadharma? So the beauty is if your gun and karma match, your gun, which means your aptitude, and the opportunity that you have in the world to perform your action. Good and karma matching is the greatest level of harmony that can happen to a human being. Okay, and Plato has also spoken about it. He says that harmony happens, sukha happens when the inside personality and the outside action begin to match. It's like they say, aspiration and opportunity come together. It's the greatest thing that can happen for you. It's the most beautiful thing. So it's like, you say you are an art, you love to paint, you are an artist, and you get that opportunity where you can have exhibitions, everything is done. So then that becomes your path. So it's many people don't get that kind of opportunity, but to be able to get it, it's like, then that's a great state of bliss and harmony. So all these are needed. Okay, there is no such thing that one varna is higher than the other. They are all horizontal. So the question is, you always think Brahmin is the highest, then comes Kshatriya, then Vaishya, then Shudra. It's not like this. It's not like a Brahmin's consciousness is higher than a Shudra's consciousness. Power of consciousness is not dependent on your varna. It is dependent on the quality of your dhyan. Excellence is dependent on dhyan. It is not dependent on which caste you were born in. So this is the background on Varna Swadharma. Yes, ma'am. Now, how to know Swadharma? This is important. This we had covered actually in chapter 4, but I think there are so many questions to this, so I thought it's good to bring this in. So what is your inner nature? What is your Swabhav? What is your propensity? What are your tendencies? What brings you the greatest joy? These are things that you must know about yourself. For this, it needs going within. What gets you into samadhi? What gets you into that meditative? For Arjun, it's that bow and arrow. If he has that, he's in samadhi. He's all there. There is no past. There is no future. There is only that moment. What are the things in your life that bring you into that? And then the things that you want to avoid, where your mind is jumping from past to future, or you want to put your mind into something else, you definitely know that that is not your dharma. That's not your natural aptitude. A rose cannot become a lotus. So this is the thing about Swadharma. If we keep looking at other people, oh, he can do headstand so well. Oh, she can dance so well. Oh, I mean, it's good to celebrate others. It's nice to find inspiration from other people, but it cannot always be an obsessive just looking at others. Otherwise, it's like, oh, that person is like this. It's so good. I should also become like this. But you never looked within yourself to see what was the gift that was given to you. If you were meant to be a lotus, be the perfect lotus. If you were meant to be a bird that can fly, be the bird that can fly. Don't try to be a fish that can swim. You can't. It's not in your nature to swim. It is in your nature to fly. That was the seed with which you were born. So what are your seeds? This requires inner inquiry. How to know your dharma? Now this is from Osho. Okay, he explains how should you know what your dharma is. He says, first, if you are not peaceful and joyous, you are not in Swadharma. So it's like to recognize, if you're not feeling joyous naturally in an activity, then that's not your aptitude. You must recognize that. You may still have to do it. So do the best. We will come into Karma Yoga. There's a whole Karma Yoga philosophy to learn there. People like me need to learn very big time. So you experience greater acceptance with what life throws at you. So your life becomes like a big yes. Vitarka again. So where is Pallavi? I always remember Pallavi when we speak Vitarka. So you're a yes to life. It's not like, oh no, I can't do this. No, so that no begins to drop. There is a willingness to life. I really like this particular thing, Sadhguru had explained about yes to life. So he says, see a rose bush. A rose bush has hundreds of thorns. Sometimes there is a blossom and you may see 2 roses, but it has so many thorns. Yet it is never called a thorn bush. It is always called a rose bush. It is, so that's the beauty of being a yes to life. That can you see only the rose? Not that you don't know it has thorns. You see the thorns, you see hundreds of thorns, you may even get hurt by it, but you don't start calling it a thorn bush. This is so natural to us. Can we be like this in our perception of situations and things around us? So that's a yes to life. Now listen to that inner voice. This is very important. If you don't turn within and if you don't really inquire within yourself, then to understand what is Swadharma is very difficult. So paying attention to yourself, that going within. This is from Swami Sarvapriyananda. He says in today's world, Swadharma, all the caste system, Varna, all of this is so, it's like becomes sort of outdated. He says you must do the, the corporate MBYT, the Myers test. And that might help you discover what your aptitude is. So that is another, that came from Swami Sarvapriyananda. I thought it would be nice. Now see, when we are speaking of Gita, this is a moksha shastra. Please remember this. It's a dharma shastra, it's a moksha shastra. People want to reduce everything to like keep it practical. Of course it is practical, but the practice is about how to achieve liberation. The practice is not about how can I be more successful in my life in terms of my worldly desires. That is not. Of course, it can be done. People can reduce it. That's why when we do level 1 of Yoga Sutras, we just keep it only about well-being. We say, okay, at least well-being you will get. Only people who are going to level 2 and level 3, we are talking about liberation. We don't talk liberation in level 1. We say, okay, just manage your well-being, at least establish that much within yourself. At least keep life wonderful. So, and this is from Swami Sarvapriyananda when he was talking on these sutras. He says, we are not valuing spiritual opportunity. We make, what is practicality? People argue in favor of practicality, and practicality means how can I earn a few more dollars? How can I increase, or how can I increase sources of pleasure? It's a very hedonistic approach to life these days. And it's all about materialistic pursuit, how to expand literally my body in terms of, when I say my body, it is my house, my wealth, my influence, etc. So these are all materialistic pursuits. And practicality is being defined as a pursuit of materialistic worldly pleasures. In fact, Swami Sarvapriyananda says today academia is going to give you arguments in favor of why idealism is not worth it. All this is hypocrisy, and why being realistic or practical is the way to go. He says it is it's like, it makes human fabric very poor. This kind of approach, really, it is making us poor as human beings. We're becoming poor. And this is also not about running from responsibility. For example, it does not mean that if I am a spiritual seeker, I just quit all my responsibilities and I sit on the mountaintop. It's not that. So Swami Sarvapriyananda, he was actually a principal, and he used to teach, and then he became a monk. He was ordained in the Ramakrishna order, and he says that, when I first came, I was a novice. I came to this monastery, and the senior monk, he told me, now your job is to go to that hostel and look after the kids there. He said, I went and there were 40 kids there. And he said, if I had married, I would have had the responsibility of 2 children, maximum 2. Here, I was told to manage 40 children. So there is no such thing about running from responsibility. In fact, he also quotes an incident of Ramakrishna. There was a very ardent spiritual seeker who used to come to Ramakrishna, but he was very poor. And his family, even food sometimes was not there. And Ramakrishna was very, he reprimanded him. He says, okay, you're seeking, your meditation, all that is okay, but you must go and look after your family first. It is important that you provide for them. You cannot run away from there. So spirituality does not mean running away from responsibility, and that should be understood. So, do not argue for practicality as that, oh, I'm fulfilling my responsibility. Of course, you fulfill your responsibility, but there are higher goals in life. So it's like Sadhguru says, you fix your bar. How much do you need? How much do you need? You need 1 house, you need 2 houses, you need 3 cars, you decide. He says it's up to you to decide. What is your bar which will make you satisfied? Each one. He says, but every year, don't keep upping that bar. The problem is not, it's like you decide, you fix it, and then stay with it. Not every year you keep upping the bar. Otherwise, there is no time for spiritual progress. It will not happen. See, this is something very quickly we'll go through this because this idea is going to come up later. So we spoke of dharma, artha, kama, moksha as purusharth, as the purpose of human life. Now, see, there is pleasure. You understand what pleasure is. You eat a cookie, you go to a movie, there is pleasure. There is engagement. You are watching a game versus you go play a game. That's engagement. And meaning in life, when you start doing things of value, when you do something for others, there is meaning, there is value, you feel happy. So these are sources of happiness. So see how it progresses in human life when we are kids or even a teenager. It's all about karma, pleasure, have fun with my friends, or it's a karma life, okay? Then artha. As we come into adult life, householder life, there are responsibilities, there is then there is engagement, all of that happens. And I can't see because of, okay, so that artha is happening in the adult life. Then there is further, as you get older, children are married, you have grandchildren, responsibilities will reduce, householder responsibilities reduce, and you can practice dharma, doing things which bring more meaning to life, which are of value to society. So this meaning, pleasure, engagement, meaning moves like this.